On the 11th, your O2 dropped. At that point, he'd had COVID for 10 days, and he was really beginning to struggle. And we both understood at that point that he was in trouble.
Yeah.
He ended up in the emergency room because the hospitals were all full, and that was harrowing, to say the least. He was isolated in a dark room. They had converted a closet.
It kind of went in from there, and I was in ICU for 7 days, intermediate ICU then for 3.
His doctors made it very clear that it could go either way.
Yeah. Thank goodness I had the muscle mass that I did have from working out for 2 years. It saved my life, actually, because without that, there wouldn't have been any healing. Because I learned at the same time that your body uses protein to combat the disease, to fight through it. Had I not had the protein available to do that, I would have been like so many other folks there.
But I didn't understand at the time that his body was dissolving his muscles to get the protein it needed to fight the disease.
Well, I got out of the hospital and discovered that I was very weak. I mean, it was a task to do anything, and I was totally unaccustomed to that. Just to move from the bed to the restroom or something like that was a major deal. A couple of weeks later, got out of the bed one morning, and it was like someone put a cattle prod in my leg, and I had to stop. Everything stopped, and that was what was called, as I learned, radiculopathy. When you have that much muscle pulled out of your system, as I was explained, then your bones, your vertebrae are a little loose in there. And so I must have turned just right where one of the nerves got pinched by the bones that were loose.
The rehab that both of the orthopedic surgeons had recommended was not making any difference. The chiropractic adjustments had not done much of anything. The chiropractor suggested massage therapy. John had tried 2 sessions of that, and that didn't seem to make any difference at all. And so John was very, I think disgusted might be a good word at the moment. And so he was talking to me and saying, you know, I really wonder if Starting Strength can help me with this. And I was like, it's worth a try.
I remember the phone call, he said, hey, you know, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Got COVID, I'll be back in 2 weeks. About a month into this, Darcy gives me a call and tells me John's not doing well. John had been hospitalized and it was life-threatening. Still kept in contact with him, tried to make sure that everything was, you know, just see if he was still alive, if there was anything we could do. After he got out of the hospital, he got home. It was a few weeks later, John gave me a call. He said, hey, you know, I've got some pain down my back, or a radiculopathy, you know, basically sciatica going down his leg. And he was on oxygen, and he asked me, he said, hey, can you rehab me back? I told him absolutely.
I mean, I was just so impressed, and I think that's the right word. Josh was so cautious. He wasn't mothering John, but I could see a difference in Josh in the way he was approaching John and approaching his treatment. It was clear to me that Josh wanted to make sure that he didn't do anything to make the situation worse while in the process of trying to help him get better. Every day he came home from that therapy, which is really what it was, he was like, man, I feel so much better when I get done with this. This is a miracle. I'm so grateful. And I think he used that word more than any other word. I'm so grateful that I have this available to me. I'm so grateful.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Tony. I've been the head coach here at Starting Strength Houston for about 7 months now. John comes in twice a week because that allows us to manage his recovery a little bit better, right? As we get older, we don't always recover from these movements the same way as if we were 20, right? So doing twice a week gives a little bit more of a chance to sustain that progress. His current training is basically an unmodified LP, right? So when you look in our book and see what just the most basic version of the program is, he's squatting 3 sets of 5, pressing and benching 3 sets of 5, and still deadlifting twice a week, 1 set of 5. So John started at a body weight of 205 when he came back to me in April. He squatted 43 pounds that day. He pressed 32. He rack pulled 85, and then later that week he benched 65. Right now he's squatting 155. Okay, bench went from 65 to 125. The rack pull started at 85, and now we're deadlifting 230 off the ground. Press started at 32, and now we're pressing 75. So we're about 3 months on from when he returned in April, and we were doing better than during his rehab from COVID. We exceeded those numbers after about 6 weeks of training. I think it's funny that after having been through COVID, a quadruple bypass, and just everything else that's been going on, John very easily got back to deadlifting 200 pounds, right? Now, if you're a 30-year-old computer programmer who works behind a desk, John might be stronger than you right now. Okay, so that's just a thing to take inventory of, right? What kind of savings do we have for our health in the future, right? If we get pneumonia or we get sidelined by something really severe, what's remaining for us on the other side, right? John lost 50 pounds when he was in the hospital for COVID, right? And so if you were walking around at 150 pounds, you might not have anything to lose if you get sick.
There's no gain without struggle. There just isn't. And that's in anything you do. So if you want to be healthy, there's a path.
And Rip said it most eloquently, easy doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's simple. So we found that out to be true, and we've improved ourselves immensely following that path.